What if Dark Moon Knight? What if Dark Moon Knight? Let me ask you this question, folks. What if there was a Dark Moon Knight? What would that look like? How would we conceive of such a thing? This is a new book from Marvel. It's a one-shot in like the What If Dark universe, I'm guessing. The best way I can describe this book to you, because this is exactly what this book is. It's Tales from the Dark Multiverse. Do you remember like a couple years ago when DC was like, our big event's coming up and it has like multiversal stakes and we had like the Dark universe. What if like dark characters of things you know? So like an event happens in DC continuity and it swaps it a bit where an alternate version comes out and there's a dark character. Well, years later, Marvel said, what if dark, but we do it our way? It is insane that this is a premise that is still happening. I guess it's so we can make cool toys because, look, this is really cool. I love this concept so much. What I love the most about this concept is that it has officially branded Moon Knight as his own character with a world. He's a top tier character now. We can take a story from Marc Spector Moon Knight, that run, that's a long running run that's really good, and just twist it on its head a bit. He's a popular enough character now where we can do like when we did the Death of Superman alternate version or we did Infinite Crisis alternate version. Moon Knight's popular enough where we can twist the story and tell an alternate version of it. That is insane. I never thought we'd be here. I never thought that if they were to do a what if comic book today, one of the issues of this mini arc would be dedicated to Moon Knight. That is so cool. That's amazing. We have a mini series going on now. We have the ongoing book going on right now. And now we have this alternate title where this like different thing happens. And you know what? This does something I really like. When I was talking about City of the Dead, when that came out a couple weeks ago, it felt very much like, oh, we're connecting it to the movie stuff, so it's going to feel like it's a part of that. This is straight up comic books. This is straight up comics because it's doing something purely from the comic books that we may never see in the movies, and that is making Marlene the lead character. I love that. In this alternate reality where things go bad, Marlene becomes the hero character. That's cool. Also about this book, nothing dark truly happens. I think things play out exactly as they would if Marc was in charge. That's cool. So this book reminds you of like the timeline and where it takes place. The events of the story deviate from Marc Spector Moon Knight number 3. That came out a while ago. Decades ago. It's a fun run. It's a little bit, it's not as like nuanced as runs we do today, but it's still really cool. I do like it. So, we open up in the nation of Burundi. This is a big moment where, we're gonna see Marc Spector fight Bushman. They're gonna have like a big old fight in like this nation state that Bushman's taken over. He's like the general of this nation now. And just like in Tales of the Dark Multiverse, we're going to have a narrator because Khonshu is going to do the Tempest Fugonaut thing and just be like, hey, sometimes things happen differently. Like, why? So weird. And the first couple pages of this book, we just see Bushman and Marc fight. And it looks great. And it's written and it behaves like these characters did in their earlier iterations. This is a more terrifying Bushman. This is a less critical, just more like swashbuckling Marc. And I appreciate that. They get some good licks on each other. We do have the blood and gore of these characters down pat. Everything's going well. We see that Marc is actually here in this nation because he wants to find Marlene, because Bushman has her. And as they're having the fight, she eventually breaks out of her hold using a rifle and starts shooting at some of the soldiers that are working for Bushman. They just have a big, sweet fight. And it's just going, this is what's happened. It's going well. Frenchie's going to come in and get them out of there. But in this reality and in this world, during his fight with Bushman, Marc gets killed. How? Does he get stabbed? It's hard to see, the angle looks like it stabbed him or slashed him. Bushman killed Mark. And Marlene's like, shit, no, you killed him. She manages to knock Bushman out. Frenchie comes in just in time for them to escape on a helicopter, but Mark dies in her arms. And even Frenchie's like, this sucks, everything sucks, everything's bad, Mark died. Because, amazing. Like, right away, I'm like, oh, changing history like that. Sure, what do you got for me? We cut to a funeral scene where Marlene is saying, like, Mark was a hero. He tried. He like, had devils that haunted him, but he tried. And then we cut to the people who are at the funeral. There's Crawley. There's his brother. There's Frenchie. There's Gina and her kids. And the West Coast Avengers are there. The West Coast Avengers are there. Because you're like, yeah, he would have been on the team at this time. So that's so cool. And Marlene's like, this sucks. I'm unhappy. You were a good person. You deserved better. You tried so hard. Then she goes back to like his place, finds like the statue of Khonshu. It's like, you're a piece of shit. And she spits on it and she like knocks it down. She like starts slashing it with a sword till it crumbles to the ground. And she starts crying. And then like a voice echoes like from a box and it's like, are you hurting my child? It's like, what is that? Like, you have descended to darkness, but I can feel like there's light in you. Come bathe in the glory of the light. And this is where I'm like, oh, yes. Yes, please, and thank you. I love that so much. Marlene does not become a victim to Khonshu, where he's like, well, I guess I should have just picked you from the beginning because you're clearly more angry and you're deadly and you could have done something good with your time. No, she is not here for Khonshu. This is not a Khonshu story taking over Marlene. It's Ra. Ra has a little statue and like a box in Mark's stuff. And it's like, come bathe in my light. Just come here. Like, we can use this light to like fend off the darkness. I can help you. And she's like, okay. And from now on, you shall be my luminary. So that is the superhero name that Marlene gets. She becomes Luminary, which I like a lot. Again, we had City of the Dead a couple weeks ago. In that, we met Anubis's avatar called Jackal Knight. I wasn't a big fan of that. Sounded a little too on the nose. Raw having one that's called Luminary. I appreciate that. What I like about it too, it's just a riff on the Moon Knight suit, but Raw now. It's so fun. I love it so much. And then we just follow as Marlene just saves people. She does good. She protects people. The way Mark has, like, in modern times, like, you know, helped the travelers of the night, she is bringing people into the light to find comfort and solace in the things they have. That's really cool. So we see her like working with Detective Flint, saving people, and then she like fights some muggers, and like she's got like the touch of Ra, so she can like burn people with the touch of Ra because she's got the power of the sun. You're like, that's pretty cool and sick. I'm here for it. Like, this is what I want, like a different enough thing that it works this well. I'm here for it. We also cut to later. We're in like classic old school Moon Knight. We always had like Stephen Grant hosting like a big event. Now Marlene and Frenchie are hosting one, and they're not really comfortable with the whole situation. Like, this kind of feels gross without Mark. I don't know how we're supposed to handle any of this. Samuels shows up and he's like, sorry, Miss Marlene, but like there's like a guy who wants to speak to you from the Burundian embassy. Like he just wants to know like what's going on. So she slips away, and there's like a lieutenant from Bushman's army. He's like, look, I just want to warn you, like, I'm fine if you like taking like you're buying artifacts from my country. That's fine. It's fine. Like I get it, but Bushman's not happy. He doesn't like this. She's like, he's a piece of shit. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can legally take it. Everything's fine. He also doesn't have the guts to face me after he killed my dad and killed Mark. So screw him. I'm not scared of him. He wants to come at me, let him come at me. This dude's like, well, I don't know if, you should say those kind of things. Kind of insinuating that, he's going to do something to Marlene. But she enacts first and kills the guy. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And then Ra's like, yes, you're doing it, my luminary. I love you. I'm like, oh, man, I'm having a great time. So then Luminary goes to the Burundian embassy, and she just she starts killing some guys, just beating them up. And Bushman's like, okay, something's happening. He looks at like a monitor. There's a breach. Suddenly, like a dagger or a throwing star goes through like one of the guy's heads. And he's like, well, I wondered when you come. And I mean, you're not doing too bad for a woman. Just classic shitty Bushman stuff. I'm so here for it. I'm here for it. She's like, I hate you and everything you do. And I kind of like that. If you like were to contemporarily take these two characters of Marc Spector and Marlene, and we were to talk about like who would be the villain for who, I love that the ideas kind of like come around that Mark's villain is Black Spectre, because if you look at it, Marlene's should be Bushman. He killed her dad. That sucks. And she also is like, when I said Mark shouldn't have killed you, I made a mistake. He should have. Like, that's from the literal first issue of Moon Knight, where she's like, Mark, don't kill him. He's not worth the anger. It's like, I hate you. So she uses like the touch of Ra, like these glowing powers, to make like lightning sticks. And she just like wails on the guy, and he pulls out the dagger that he used to kill her dad. And they just have a fight with like emotion. And it's sick. And she gets stabbed with the dagger. And it looks like she's going to die. But she has the power of Rob using through her. And she like finds the light within herself. And like burns a beam of light through her chest. And it stabs Bushman. And I'm like, okay, we're doing something. Then she picks up like one of like the moon darts that Mark used to use. And she stabs into his chest and then kicks it deeper into him. And she kills him. And she collapses because that sucks. And she was broken doing it. And later, Frenchie and Samuels are standing over her in the hospital. And they're like, this has been a really weird couple of days. Like, I feel like I should have helped her or done something. But this has been weird. And I don't know how to handle this. Samuels was kind of like to him, we all grieve in our own way. Like, this is what she had to do. We'll figure it out. And this, she keeps kind of like, you know, just resting, and suddenly she has like a vision, like a hallucination. She wakes up and she finds Mark just walking like around in like a white suit. She's trying to catch up to him. He's like, don't worry. You don't need my help. You're doing great. You're almost there. You're going to do fine. And she's reaching out to grab his hand, but she wakes up because what is that? Who knows? Or does she wake up? Because when she awakes again, she's no longer Marlene. She is Ra, because Ra has taken over the body of Marlene and become an ultimate luminary hero or something. I guess that's the dark twist, is that Marlene is dead? Is that the twist? Is that the twist? I don't know. Is it like indicating that like Ra's a bad guy and Khonshu's good? Is like that how we're ending this? He's like, because he just shows up there and like, hey, you know, the sun and the moon will always rise, and with their light comes shadows. How one attends to those shadows determines our fate. So be mindful of the shadows and the light. So I guess everything was going well for Marlene till she succumbed to the light and lost a grip on reality, and she died of her Mark, and now Ra has her body. And next week, Carnage. You're like, what? No, wait, follow up on this, please. That's great. This is sick. Like, I had an absolute blast. As somebody who has read Moon Knight for so long and has such a reverence for Marlene, that I want to see them do more of that character, because she feels like a very important, like, you know, femme fatale character in his world that doesn't get to do stuff. The fact that we reference old Moon Knight books, like the Marc Spector Moon Knight run, the fact that the artwork like emulates that kind of stuff. Oh, this is just straight up made for me. It's insane that it's good. You know, that's like, this is fun. And that it's Raw. And that the lesson is like the power of the light can like corrupt you. I mean, that's kind of interesting. Little on the nose of it just being like the last page, but I get it. I guess I guess you could say this is the equivalent of her succumbing to Ra. It's like when Mark cut off Bushman's face. I guess it's like that equivalent, where it's like this is like what it was always headed towards, like the god in their head telling them what to do. But hey, cool powers, cool costume. Marlene gets something to do. I'm having a blast, and I think you all will too. This is what you want from a Moon Knight adjacent book. I like it. It's so cool that this can happen now with these characters, and they can survive on their own. That's pretty sick. I appreciate it. Glad it's happening. Give me more. I'll take more any day of the week. This is so cool. I wish it was more than just one, but if that's what it takes to get started, like, I could definitely see this concept returning somewhere. So, what if Dark Moon Knight, issue number 1? I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.